we do get ahead of ourselves, I think it's best that you to take it away for the final map of our series between BNA and BSG.
Thank you very much. Time to get stuck into the map number 3, Mandy, BNA, and BSG. I'm not sure I heard like a final verdict from you. Who do you think is going to take this one?
Good question. Very good question. I think my final verdict is BSG. This one, I have a feeling they didn't repeat Sky for a reason. If I'm on the side of BNA doing those vetoes, I would have anticipated Skyscraper to come through, I think, especially against this region where they sort of like stay in their comfort zone. So I think, to me, it's a sign that BSG have gone back and they've prepared for this one and they've actually got some ideas. And so that's why I'm going to lean into them. I think, they've changed it up for a purpose.
Indeed. Ying has been banned out. Monty as well. The Monty ban we've seen by BSG in the past against BNA. I'm not exactly sure why. Like, we haven't seen BNA play it at all, but clearly BSG knows something that we don't. The last time these two teams played, it was banned by BSG on 2 of the 3 maps that they played. I guess if you know that a team is good with it, maybe just get it out of there.
Mm-hmm. Ban phase has flown by us, though, as we speculate upon this final map to send someone through the bracket of the last chance qualifier. On the side of BNA, of course, starting out on the attack, it is going to be a little challenging without the Monty and the Ying, of course, being a pretty fashionable ban these days, banning out a big disruption operator. You don't want to enable some of those more explosive executes, that type of thing. And Monty being the one to brute force their way into the map. And on Bank, there are some viable entry points, but when the Monty's on the board, you can do some pretty cool stuff, like your lobby-sided takes, or, just getting into the map safely with that shield is something that BSG don't want BNA to crouch on, and that's why they've banned it out.
I like it. Can I just say, Maddie, for a second, look at the bomb site we're going to first. It's the top floor, CEO office, or console office, whatever you want to call it. Why do BSG always seem to go for like the secondary bomb sites instead of the basement bomb sites? Like, we saw this on Oregon, right? They tried playing Laundry Supply 3 times, and they lost it every single time, and yet dorms they were really good at. Is this a sign that it's the same thing on Bank? I'd be really surprised, because that Locker's bomb site, like, it's a very viable bomb site, especially in this meta with Goyo, Smoke, Azami, like Kaid has been left in. There's so many options for BSG. Maybe this is just trying to throw a curveball. Maybe this is not a sign that they're not as confident on the basement. But yeah, I'm a little confused, that's for sure.
It's going to sound a bit nitpicky, so let me know if you stop following, but I think a big difference between the top floor bomb sites and the basement bomb sites is like, it's not just on Bank, but literally every map, is that the way that you play the basement bomb sites is like you go for the extended roam and then you play it full off, right?
Yep.
Whereas when you play those top floor bomb sites, you're not really playing full off. The bomb site is already adjacent to most of your entry points, so instead of playing that, you actually play power positions instead, right? And I think ultimately for a lot of teams, like I'm not just going to say, for pro league teams, but even for like amateur teams and stuff like that, sometimes being coordinated at like your full off roams can be really hard. And a lot of teams struggle with that if your communication like isn't as fluid as you anticipate it to be, right? So a lot of these like top floor bomb sites, like where you don't need a full off, you're just holding power positions, can be like a little bit easier to interpret and play. You just need to hold crossfires and everyone just needs to like get efficient at the one position that they're in, right? And so I think that for BSG, they do struggle a little bit with playing like as a unit and being cohesive, especially when they've got a sub coming in as well. And I think that going into this top floor bomb site, it might just lean into their playstyle a little bit better.
Possible. Already some good headway made by the attack. I quite like the 0 pick. You don't get to see it every day, but it has been worth a decent amount of value here, I would say. It's already got quite a bit of information. Baguette knows that there is a player at Canso, almost lands the headshot. If I'm the guy on the defense, I'm probably not going to keep on peeking that. Who is it on the defensive side that has the goal to keep on peeking that? It looks like it's Jinna, the analyst, still quite confident. Hold on to that long line of sight.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Jinna's actually been really good as a sub. I'm impressed that analysts can shoot back, but here goes Supreme on his entry in through stock. Now the wall has been opened, which has meant that it has dislodged the player inside of the hallway, and Supreme has tried to make an entry off the back of it. Unfortunately, stock is one of the more tricky positions to entry because there are a lot of lines of sight for the defense that can be made to swing onto them, and Supreme will go down.
Well, here's a good C4 from Vamos, but somehow it doesn't manage to land. I'm not sure whether it fell short or the player ducked away. Plant's going down from Islet here, but the plant has been denied by Jin. Where was that? He must have had some information. He's taken the kill with it as well. Vamos, though, does go down to the player in lobby. This may be Baguette's time to shine. 20 seconds left.
Baguette here on his lurk is going to try and make his way up the spiral stairs, but the big thing is that the diffuser is cold on the ground in the bomb site, and the attacker needs to collect it back.
Gonna have to land this first shot, but he loses it. And with that, there is nothing that Temi can do. He loses that fight to Jinner as well. The analysts, just look at him go. Massive early picks, massive late rounds to close. And already a good start here for BNA. BSG, rather.
Dear.
I got the names confused because they're like the same.
I know, we said that like right at the beginning of the cast as well. Uh-oh, I think J1.
Ooh, sussy.
J1's been called out, mate. That's no good. But anyway, it doesn't matter anyway. They lost that round. Who cares? Yeah, BSG, I think, doing good on their top 4 defense. It didn't really feel like they were ever contested by BNA, to be honest. Like, yes, the Repel game came out. Yeah, yes, there was this shock entry that came through. But I think ultimately both those things were shut down pretty handily by the defense of BSG. They didn't have to do anything in particular, just, you know, play their spots, their power positions well, and stunt the attack from coming in.
Well, we'll just wait for J1 to reconnect. Hopefully it won't take him very long. But we're going downstairs to CCTV lockers, the primary bomb site for most teams, secondary for BSG. And I'm seeing good signs in the operator selection, right? Like Castle, Goyo, Azami, Warden, Smoke. The Goyo and the Smoke, both great for late round time delay. The Warden as well, especially if you got that C4. The Castle and the Azami, great for playing a bit of a roam, playing a fall-off roam. So I think they've got all the ingredients for this setup. BNA, though, with the Jackal, that's a kind of interesting, unusual pick. Don't see every day. Might be able to try and clear these roamers a bit faster.
Jackal is pretty important here on Clubhouse, right? Like, it's such a big map. There are so many viable points of entry for the attack. And the map is really big as well. And if BSG are going to look to do that roam onto the ground floor, you will need that Jackal in hand to try and cut down on it. The big thing is like knowing when the defense has fallen off, right? Like, even though they might have fallen back through the hatch, you still need to then go and drone out that ground floor and actually confirm that's been done. But when you have the Jackal on the board, you can actually see that happen in real time, which can be quite fun. And it does actually look like the defense is going to look for that extended roam. They're even reinforcing off the hatches all the way in the top floor, so it's quite heavily fortified through the map.
5 seconds remaining.
The one concern for me, right, Mandy, is that for BSG, like on Oregon when they did the basement defense, of course, I've already harped on, they weren't very successful, but what's more, they really overextended. Like, you had players dying way off site really early, players with pivotal utility. In particular, I think it was Vamos who was playing the smoke then as well, but he died a lot before using his gas canisters, and that was a bit of a scare for me. This is a really good drone, though, from J1. Neither of these teams really like the Solus, it seems, because this would be an easy drone to find with the Solus.
Curious one. I think the thing about this basement defense is that you kind of need a lot of operators. Like, a lot of them are a bit mission critical to like the setup, which is probably why there's not a lot of room for the Solus to be brought along. But I think, yeah, like you're saying, a big criticism of the BSG playstyle is that they don't really do these like full off roam games very well, you know? As soon as they get caught out in this top floor, they're not very cohesive in their full back, and we saw it happen just then. Jinner trapping himself inside of meeting, 2 players coming in on the side of BNA to support, and Supreme can clean that one up. Jackal in hand, like we've been saying, has been quite effective so far.
He's already spotted out the second roamer as well. But Daki will immediately fall off. BSG not doing too crash hot here at the start of the round. They've already forfeited, I'm fairly certain, the entire map. Now, there is still some presence in blue, but I'm not sure if the player behind that shield is actually intending to actively hold that position. It seems like Vamos has fallen back for now. Really don't want to see Vamos overpeak this year. He's got to delay as much time as possible.
The danger here for Vamos is that there's no like projectile catching operators that actually support his shield position, so he's got to be really careful that when the utility flood does come through, that he's at the bottom of the stairs, but then when the entry comes through, that he's at the top of the stairs to take the gunfight. And that can be quite tricky, especially now that the hatch has been opened for BSG. Vamos actually choosing to hold on to this position rather than falling off is a curious one to me. Oh, he does fall off.
Does
What?
manage to
How's
get
he got
back
away?
somehow. That was very, very narrow margins. He managed to get away with his life there.
Oh no, that's not him.
Okay, that was apparently the Azami. Instead it was Jin. Vamos is still alive and well, and still burning time here. He's able to take one player with him. He's able to survive for as long as possible. I mean, he's still got one gas bay left. They're going to push him now. Is there support from into sight? He's fully gassing himself up. He takes the fight and wins it. Oh, it's disastrous for B&A. They had the early pick, but for the remaining minute, they've done just about nothing. They finally take down Vamos, and there are 30 seconds to convert this advantage.
Oh man, but yeah, that was a bit ambitious to take that 1v1 through the smoke, and with only 20 seconds left to go, it's certainly looking poised for the defense to take this one. The floor is lava on the bomb site, and the attack has to flood.
Jin, though, he's got the perfect plan denial. The smoke comes through far too late. Gaki is able to take down J1 using the Vulcan canister. Islet tiptoeing through the site, looking for somewhere safe to plant. Might be able to start it, but he certainly won't be able to finish it. BSG, 2 rounds on the trot, both as dominant as the other.
Really good stuff there from BSG starting out on their defense. Like you're saying, they seem really prepared here on Bank. Both of their setups on the top floor and the bottom floor working out for them. Even though the fall-off didn't quite work super well for Jinna, and even though Vamos was stuck all on his lonesome inside of server, he still managed to get big value out of that, not just in kills, but also in a time sink. And I think ultimately that spelled disaster for B&A, as they had to execute onto the bomb site with only 20 seconds left to go. That's never going to go well when you're planting inside of a Goyo canister. So BSG doing a good job in playing the time game and holding on.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Well, now BSG have to move on to a tertiary bomb site. Staff room open area seems to be their idea of a good time. I'm pretty confident how they've gone in Bank so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win this one too.
Me too. I'm pretty happy with the way that they've been playing it. I think ultimately both the strategies that they've played out have been pretty solid. Honestly, I wouldn't overthink that one too much. I think that they've just done what they needed to do. It wasn't anything too fancy, and B&A just struggling a little bit in certain points of the rounds that I think they could clean up.
10 seconds
To me, it could still go either way. I think I wouldn't say that BSG have got a massive grip on this game just yet, but I think certainly if they can get 3-4 rounds on the trot, they've definitely picked up the momentum.
Locate a bomb and defuse it.
Curious to see how B&A decide to go for this attack. The Buck, I think, is a great pick. This bomb site tends to be really vertical. Even if you can't clear out all the positions on the bomb site with Vert itself, oh man, are you telling me that the Buck has just died? That's a worthwhile trade. Even though Jinna dies there, that is 110% a worthwhile trade.
Dude, Jinna is the secret wild card, man. You can tell that all the BSG guys, they know the strat, they know the defending strat, and so they're playing it, and then Jinna's what operator am I? And he's gone the operator in the strat book and then put down his utility and doesn't know what to do, right? So they're just okay, whatever, just walk off on your own. But sometimes wildcard is the secret success, you know? You've got one player that's just doing his thing and we'll find something every now and then.
Attackers
It's
have located a bomb.
fair enough.
I
And
love that.
they've actually got 2 players down on B&A now, so the early game not going too well for them.
Yeah, fun fact, Anne actually looked up Jinna's stats on his ranked stats online, and apparently he hasn't played the game for 10 days, which, I mean, it's not a long time, but for a player playing at this level, that's a decent amount of time to not have played the game. But sometimes there's that little magic juju when you come back after not playing for a while, you just become an actual god. And Jinna's... Yeah?
Go on. Your point.
I was going to say,
courteous.
I think Jinna has landed that. He's got the magic juju.
I know, right? It's sometimes when you don't play the game for a long time, you come back and you play the game and you have irrational confidence, right? There are things that that because you're not as cautious when you come back, you can't keep tabs of as much stuff going on in Rainbow Six Siege. You just do things, you know?
Stop
And,
overthinking.
Yeah. And I
it.
think Jinna's got the irrational just do something confidence where he doesn't really anticipate what's going to happen on the other side, but he's got a plan, he's just doing it.
I love it.
Oh,
Analyst
dear.
buff for BSG. B&A, though, have got a lot of map control now. They've snuck their way in, and Baguette has taken down Gaki. Island immediately jumps into sight, but he has taken down Diffuser on the floor. B&A now rely on J1. and Baguette to confirm this 2v2. Perfect timing from J1. Finds the first, looks for the second. There's information, and Baguette can clean house. A beautiful redemption there for B&A. They really didn't have a right to win that round, but they got the job done anyway.
They really didn't. I think that's exactly how I would put it as well. They lost out 2 picks on the entry, but I think, like we've been saying time and time again in this series, the entry pick does not seem to matter to either of these teams. It's about what happens in the mid rounds. And I think ultimately BSG actually forfeiting that top floor control then let B&A inside of the horizontal, right? There was no pressure that came out from the vertical, so they could just walk their way in on through Tellus and Archives. They actually took some really nice 1v1s in those positions to BSG players that unfortunately were just not safe enough to fall back to the bomb site and close it out from there. I think they ultimately went for an explosive execute. They tried to hop in through 3 separate entry points and won out their ones there as well. Good job from B&A.
Yeah. Well, BSG now go back to their primary bomb site. This one was truly disastrous for B&A. Are they going to just do the same thing, more or less? Like have the zero lurk from lobby, try and get an execute on? Because it was close to working. The problem was that they just had the plant denied by Jin. And after that, they sat on the windows, like, clueless of what to do next. B&A can just cover the plants a little bit more effectively. I reckon they could take this bomb site.
I think that you've got the right read on that, to be honest. That last round, it looked dominant, I think, from the side of BSG, but like you're saying, B&A did go for a more objective-based execute, and then once that diffuser had been left cold on the ground, it was in a very tough spot to collect. But like you're saying, if that diffuser had gone down, we would have been saying the inverse about B&A, and that they'd actually landed a good execute there. And from the rappel position, it can be a very tough post plan to come back from if you're on the defense.
Indeed. Well, we'll see if B&A can deliver. ESG, once again, seem to be doing more or less the exact same kind of hold. J1 just getting to work on these windows. If I'm B&A, I'm definitely bringing a lot of claymores because you know that Jinner is tempted to jump out those windows.
Yeah, but only 2 of them have been deployed on Temmie, who's the one on the rappel. Baguette is actually trying to make Lurk work. But hang on a second, here's Supreme, who's just actually entered straight inside of Stockboy and has taken down the player there. Thankfully, he can be traded back though, so Yeeble still holding on to side control.
Wow, what a chaotic mid-round, actually early round. Only a minute in and already almost half the server has died. Baguette, once again, looking to solo this lobby presence. There's no one actively watching him right now, but it wouldn't take much for these 2 BSG players to have a crossfire on his position, and they are highly cautious of it. They're looking for these 0 cams. Baguette's trying to get one of his teammates to call for him. Now gets out a drone as well. Not exactly sure what the play here is for B&A. They look a little bit disjointed, a little bit lost.
They need to retrieve the diffuser. That's the first point of contest here for the attack. They know that that is the condition of the round. Is if they can get that bomb down in the bomb site, they will hopefully win the round. Nice stun grenade is going to let Temmie make his way inside of stock, and that jump in was in fact being held by Yeeble. So nice little micro game from Temmie is going to let them collect that one back. And now they can pivot their attention in towards the bomb site. It does look like they are going to try and repeat that rappel-centric execute in, try and get that bomb down, and see if they can win it out in the post.
Make room!
That's going to be a desperate rappel in, it seems. Then he goes for it. Yeeball starts baiting him out, but there's actually a Kiva barrier working in favor of the attacking side. Yeeball almost gets the shot. There's the plant denial. J1 is not able to refrag that. Defense on lock. B&A, once again, pretty lost. BSG can simply wait. There's no reason to force the issue. J1 is a dead man walking. He's hopeless and helpless. Might repel into square, but good luck trying to do anything with it.
10 seconds left.
No actual line of sight here on the breach, so he will go hunting for frags. But Famos will find him first. Another great convincing round on Bank for BSG.
And I think it's like we're seeing on Oregon as well. BSG are good at the bomb sites where they don't need to do anything too fancy, and all they need to do is play power positions and play a more claustrophobic defense. There's not a lot more of the map that you need to think about, and I think ultimately BSG are much better at doing that. Every single one of them very proficient in what they had to do in their power positions. I think Yubel in particular, the player inside of Janitor, not only getting the refrag on what was a pretty crazy entry coming in from BNA in through stock, but then also denying the reattempt at the diffuser as well, was really what BSG needed to close that one out.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Well, now BNA get a chance to have another crack at this basement, but I don't know, would you say this was actually the worst bomb site they had? They were just so slow.
No.
They had you don't reckon, what was the worst bomb site BNA
Oh,
were?
right, for BNA. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I thought you said for BSG.
I reckon BSG were really solid here. Like, even they lost that opening pick, BNA just took way too long to clear blue.
Yes.
And were pretty desperate on that final push.
Okay, in that instance, yes, I do agree with you. Sorry, we're getting lost in the BSG, BNA. Blah, blah, blah.
It's so confusing.
It is very confusing, and we have very little brain cells between the two of us.
I
So,
think we
yes,
share,
this
like,
is quite
3 of them.
challenging. But yeah, I think I would agree with that. This was BNA's worst attack by,
Attackers
I think, quite a
objective
long
to
way.
locate a bomb
They
and
didn't even
defuse it.
actually get even a look in, I would say, in towards the bomb site. By the time that they got all the way into server, there was only 20 seconds left. So I think this time around, it's going to be about expediting that process in through the early to mid rounds.
The roam clear was super good last time as well. Remember that Jackal? Very effective. No Jackal this time. Saving more util for the late round, I suppose. Temi also likely to be looking for these Valkyrie cameras, which have already proven to deliver quite a bit of information. Good drone work. Mine goes down. Just look at the recoil of that F2 these days. Supreme! Oh, that's an awkward position for him to find himself in. He was caught on the camera the whole time as well. Well, after that exchange, BSD already have an early advantage, and I don't know what BNA intend to do about it. There was no attempt at a refrag. I still don't think they've taken down that Valkyrie camera in open area. But here comes the Vault Hatch. That's at least something to work with.
Well, they're certainly doing something in this mid-round. The map control is somewhat in their hands, and they have actually spotted out that Valkyrie camera inside of the ground floor. With that vertical pressure to come out, I think Gaki has thought better of it and decides to fall off, knowing that the bad times are headed his way. Vamos as well, making, I think, the more measured decision to not sit on the blue stairs without any grenade catch stuff, and is going to fall back to the server instead, which is a bit of a safer position for him to fall off. But here goes Baguette with the shock drone in hand, and yeah, he's doing it. He's going to take down all these Joyo canisters, and that's going to help them a lot later on when they go for the execute.
Oh, there you go. There's number 3. Number
Ooh.
4, I believe, was just in the middle of sight on the floor, unless if I was looking at a piece of shrapnel. So that's 3 of the 4 Vulcan canisters he's taken down. Where's the last one?
Good question. I don't know.
Maybe on blue. Maybe top blue stairs. That would be a smart place for it, I
That would
guess.
make more sense.
Oh, well. BNA doing some good droning. Oh, no. Islet, you can't miss drone that.
Oh dear.
Please don't tell me they just called server clear.
The attacker's
I think
bomb
they did.
diffuser has been
I think they
dropped.
did, Dev. I don't think that they know that Vamos is down here.
No!
Oh,
Oh, this is
no.
beautiful. Vamos is waiting for the second one. Gets them both! Islet, you have been punished for your sins! And this round that could have maybe been on the go for BNA is now locked out. The door has been slammed shut by Vamos. J1's going to go down as well on the hatch. It's up to Temi, and I just don't think he's got it in him. 1v5. He'll be lucky if he can even find a kill here, a consolation frag. There's the one, but the second is not going to be it. It has to be Vamos to close, the man of the hour. A massive round from the smoke. BSG looking pretty dominant here on Bank.
Oh man, Vamos is exactly what they're saying in their comms right now. I'll tell you what, that was a good round from him. Nice one, I think, to close it out onto BNA. But I think ultimately, you called it out. It was BNA actually falling to their own misdroning rather than Vamos actually making a super play there. I think Islet is going to absolutely be kicking himself after that one, thinking, damn, there was one behind the server rack the entire time. And yeah, BSG can look confident once again on the basement.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
Well, one
defused
last
by
round of
attackers.
attack for BNA, but I'm not really optimistic here, Mandy. This map in general is one of the most attacker-sided in the map pool at the moment. Holistically, globally, And I don't know, before and after, I think they're going to need more than more than one attack, definitely more than one, for a solid chance of winning this match. And of course, it's the final map. This is the decider. BSG take it here. BNA are completely eliminated from the last chance qualifier. BSG will march on forward. And there's a hell of a long off-season for BNA to have a think about what went wrong.
Nah, I reckon throw stats out the window between these two teams. I swear, anything can happen between these two teams. There are some rounds that have been like, oh look, the entry pick's gone in the way of someone, and surely they can convert it from here, and then they don't. And then there are other times where, like, you know, the crazy stuff happens on the defense, and then somehow they end up winning it out anyway. It's like, I don't know. You have no idea, I think, how this game is going to play out. There are so many, like, small things that just go wrong for someone, or go right for someone, if you want to think about it that way instead. And, like, bam, that's the round. That's all that you need. Here we go. So BNA, though, on their attack of what should be a more unfavorable bomb site for BSG. If there is anything that you can land an attack on, surely it's going to be this one. Not just that, but BSG are really playing, like, quite a reserved defense here. They're not holding on to that top floor at all. And if Temi realizes, he can certainly get that buck in through CEO and can really put the pressure on the roamers horizontally.
Last time BNA really struggled in the early round thanks to that crazy spawn peak. It looks like they're simplifying a lot this time around. They've got 3 players just outside the windows of sight, and Temi is soloing the vert game. Bit dangerous. He does need to be extra careful, and that does mean he will be slower on his progress. But look at all these defenders. They're all downstairs in the site, more or less, and one's just gone down to J1 here on the site window. This is not looking so great here for BSG. Still a lot to work with, as another player has dropped down into the basement.
Ooh, we're going to see some epic free cam. We'll put on the bomb side as well. Ooh, look at that line of sight there for J1. So I think what he was trying to point out there was because that wall is open, he's actually been able to see into the corner of office, which is why then I think it's the the echo of Jin has had to escape down there because he can be seen. J1 though is going to keep making use of these Rotero drones to put even more pressure onto the bomb site, and I think the big thing here for the attack is that they've done super well in the vertical to actually flush out the entire ground floor and force everyone to fall back.
All it takes for BSG to get back in this game is a couple of big picks, and if Supreme dies here to Gaki, that could be it. Gaki's found one. Supreme looks for this refrag as he slices the pie, opening into the site, looking for the angle. But is he going to find it? Gaki's in aggressive position and lands the first shot. Oh, Gaki is good for 2. And the round has well and truly gone backwards for BNA. Supreme now in a very awkward spot as he tries to drone up the side. But remember, there's also a flank opportunity for the Echo in the late round. Baguette snakes his way into admin. He now holds a crossfire with Supreme. These two players have to go big, and they do! Both spring into action, but the Cap is the demise of Supreme. Baguette must cover now as Temi has to pull out a goo mine and force this plant down. But the Yokais will do the job for BSG. A 5-1 domination in the first half of Bank for BSG on defense.
That was a fun one to watch. We did get to see a lot of that free cam potential coming out from our observer, and they pointed out some pretty fun stuff there for the attack of BNA, but I think ultimately BSG just doing the win condition of playing the diffuser right at the end, actually having that Yokai drone inside the bomb site, knowing that BNA on their attack did not actually drone out where those Yokais were. They didn't plan out their attack with enough redundancy, just allowed Jin to go down into the basement, play inside of the vault, and play the diffuser.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by
I don't know where to put BNA now. There's a mountain to climb, that's for damn sure. As they move on to their defense, they too, Mandy, believe it or not, go to the top floor bomb site first.
Interesting. Interesting, but fair enough, I guess. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe my speculation was too much when we were talking about it earlier this match, but I do have a feeling that they're just not that keen on this whole, like, roam idea, you know? I think that they're just, like, sitting on the bomb site and waiting for the attack to come to them and, like, you know, don't overthink your positioning too much.
5 seconds to insertion.
BSG One round at a time now. Only 2 more to find. May as well just treat this like it's 0-0. Look to break through these defenses one at a time. It is quite a nice setup on the defense. A lot of very powerful operators, good catch, good mutes. We've actually seen a hell of a lot of Flores this series, I feel, Mandy. Both these teams seem to love it, so I think the mute is an excellent pick.
Me too, I would agree with that. I think that we've seen quite a lot of value, not just the Flores, but in the special drones in general. We saw the Twitch when we were on board with BNA's attack do a great job at cutting down stuff like go canisters and that. So I think, like you're saying, the mute pick is a good idea, I think, for BNA on this defense. Meanwhile, though, Hyam Jin is going to try and make use of that Flores. Oh, but like you pointed out, it actually doesn't get mute jammed and will take down the shield in stock.
Another Rotero goes in. This is massive value, isn't it? So much utility cleared out. Lines of sights opened. BSG are looking very comfy on this attack at the moment. BNA are not looking to make any counter moves as of yet. We've still got the X factor of J1 downstairs, but he's had an incredibly quiet game. And that's not a great way to kick it off for Islet. He goes down to Gaki, who immediately gets back out of stock again.
We're covered.
Good push there from Gaki, indicating that the refrag was going to come in through stock or that he was going to be unsafe through the vertical to a C4. Stock is one of those positions that you really want to just get in and get out. It's not that safe to loiter around in there. And Gaki making full use of that space to open up the round for BSG. Meanwhile, on the other side of the attack, the repel pressure is starting to come through as this top square angle has been opened up for the attack too. So if they want to try and execute in through the breach, they can try and mount this, but the point of contest that they have to clear first is going to be the player inside of the janitor.
And that nade almost does take him down, but he does manage to dodge it for now. Still, BSG, I think, are in a bit of a planning phase. They're not entirely sure how they're going to deal with this, just looking to open up more and more avenues. And Baguette, as you said, the player in Gen are really feeling this pressure now. So many angles are opened up onto him. And I think he's decided, my moment, to make a play. He's getting very aggressive. I don't think he's been droned. Oh, but it's so unfortunate. He misses the timing on everything. Yaki seems to have a bit of a read. BSG are so separated.
This is a really tough one for BSG. They haven't quite kept tabs on the player inside of Jenner, and as they've tried to dislodge him, are actually going to try and entry into the bomb site instead, but will be taken down for their efforts.
Jin, he does read the position of Baguette. And there might still be some legs to this attack for BSG. There is, though, information on this plant. Should it go down? Jin does start it. 3 players from BNA to try and deny. Vamos finds the first. The plant goes down. And now the Zafir must 1v2, but his Claymore does half the work for him. J1 finally back to sight, looking to make this retake happen. It's a 1v1. Vamos has time on his side. The first tick is a fake. Vamos is very loud, but it seems like J1 doesn't have the read, doesn't have the info, and he hasn't had a clue of how Vamos has made that happen. A massive round for the Zafir, and BSG finally have match point on their hands.
Nice attack there from BSG. It did look like they were almost going to fall to the indecision of the mid-rounds, not quite able to dislodge the player inside of Janitor, but eventually their efforts are made worth it as they can finally find the kills that they need to actually get that bomb down. Somehow, all they needed to do was just kill the one player that was denying them the safe plant spot behind the bomb. And as soon as they did that, they knew, okay, our plan is still on. Plan A is still on, even though there's only 2 of us alive. And once they got that down, Vamos to win it out in the post plant. It was a really nice 1 versus 1 to close it out and put them on match point.
Yeah, a huge moment for BSG, especially because it was such a... I don't know, it's weird, man. Like, that should have been BSG's round from the get-go. And then BNA just made some insane plays and brought it back on their side. And Vamos is like, guys, just let me cook. He's 9-2 right now. He's not like a primary entry fragger, though he is about to jump on the Yana. And he has had a couple of quiet games today, but it was map 2, right? He popped off massively. Map 3, he's continuing the form. He's only died twice in 7 rounds on Bank. BNA have to make the comeback of a lifetime to stay in this last chance qualifier for the Atlanta Major.
Exciting though, exciting prospects for BSG. Of course, last time in stage 1, like we pointed out, these guys were the favorites actually to go to Copenhagen out of this brackets, but this time around I think they have been quite overshadowed by La Vega, who did overtake them last time to go and qualify in. Meanwhile, though, the attention is turned to what is potentially the final round of this game. Difference between BSG in their attacks compared to BNA is that they've actually brought along the Dokkaebi. Like, yes, the Jackal is online for them as well, but bringing along that Dokkaebi is going to cut down on a lot of the drone work that BSG need to do. Not just that, but I think we can see 2 players as well droning out through this top floor at the moment. They are going to be made aware that there is actually only 1 player here, and if they can isolate him on his fall-off route, that's going to be a really great start for BSG.
I give them a call.
The Dokkaebi will certainly help. It'll also enable entry. Garage. Supreme is going to fall on back. The J1 was still at large on this roam. Not a exceedingly heavy roam, however. The fall-off route is available. Jin is just droning himself into Garage. It looks like BNA have nobody watching this. Okay, so Temi on his camera still has information, but of course, the Dokkaebi could hack it, or could even take it down with the Gon 6. Okay, here comes the call. So no defenders can be on the camera, and he is going to be able to move his way all the way up to Garage.
Islet knows. I swear Islet knows. He's looking straight at it on the other side. Okay, yeah, he definitely does. 1.5x in hands. But here comes the roam clear for BSG. Binar is going to trade directly with Supreme one-to-ones. That's the Azami going down, but not mission critical for the execute for the defense. Meanwhile, we're still on board with has had a bit of a tough time taking down the BP, but here's J1, still prone inside of Kitchen, and they haven't spotted him out.
This is very cheeky from J1. This could either win or lose the round for BNA. As Yeeball's going to open up yet another hatch and continue to put this pressure on. Is that drone going to spot the player? The perfect cutoff here on the site. Gaki is now clearing through this util. I'm very confused as what BSG are actually looking to execute in, and Vamos has actually gone down.
It does look like it's going to be a more lobby-centric take here for BSG. They've completely not contested this open setup, but it might come to fight them back as Vamos goes in for his flank.
This could be it. Gaki has dropped the hatch. Yeeball has made his way into sight. Diffuser in pocket and ready to force on down. The flash goes out. Gaki has got to cover. He's got the angle, but he loses the fight onto J1. He's back on site in the nick of time. This 1v2 is not going to work for Yeeball, and J1 keeps BNA alive for yet another moment longer.
And you called it. It was do or die on J1's flank there. They hadn't spotted him out. He could take down the entry. Not just that, but his flank proved fruitful as well, collecting 2 on the retake into the bomb site. I didn't mind the idea from BSG to change it up and actually go for a lobby-sided take rather than go for server, knowing there was so much plant denial on the side of BSG. But I think it just didn't quite work when you don't actually do your due diligence in clearing out the ground floor. And BNA can claw 1 back.
Yeah. I feel like maybe BSG, if they had had pressure on server, it would have put BNA in a much more uncomfortable position. I feel like going for a vault drop, Garage presence really just doesn't help you nearly as much as it does for a server push. But of course, they would have needed to clear out all kinds of ground floor, like you said, and they were not keen to do that for whatever reason. Now BNA, they've won 1 defense. Instead of going back to the top floor, they will move over to staff room and open area, which was actually a pretty decent site for BSG. Now BNA won it on the first try, but not on the second. Remember that last second Capcan trap to put an explosive end to the first half. That was how BSG fared on this bomb site. BNA, however, you're going to need to make a good run of it and then continue running on every other bomb site for the rest of this map.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It is going to have to be the super comeback here for BNA if they want to keep their Atlanta dream alive. But for BSG, it is just to take it round by round. The defense that BNA have brought doesn't look like there is that much resistance, in all honesty. I think that BSG should be afforded this top floor control pretty easily. I think there's not a lot that BNA could put to their half. Maybe they rotated the Azami as Supreme up there, which it actually does look like they have done, so it is going to be a little harder to dislodge the top floor player, but it's not like Supreme has got a lot of support from his teammates, and I think if BSG are just careful in taking down this play here, they can get their buck in, play the vertical, and hopefully convert a nice mid-round from there.
Yeah, that's the game plan, isn't it? This bomb site. It's all about the vert, all about clearing out room by room, the ground floor, until you have a position to execute onto site. But I really quite like what BNA have brought. They've got a bulletproof camera from Temi, but they've also got these evil eyes from Islet. So there's a lot of offsite information as well as onsite info. Now, you mentioned Supreme. There's the sole roamer up above. He's now retreated down the elevator hatch. And he's protected by a castle barricade. I think it's actually gone down now. I'm not sure what his play is. He's going to continue to try and roam or to push back on the site.
Tough spot now here for BNA with 1 minute and 40 left to go. BSG have got plenty of time to start working through this mid-rounds. Buck is going to put pressure onto the remaining horizontal extended players of BNA. Of course, Supreme inside of elevator is going to be in the blind spot of that vertical and will be safe for now, but Temi isn't, and so he's got to fall off inside of main stairs instead. That's going to vacate this area now to the attack, but a really nice line of sight from the defense of BNA will mean that even as BSG try to go for the entry inside, they actually have to worry about these angles.
These roamers are being hunted, but Supreme can simply drop another hatch. His teammate on the main stairs, now droned out, that's Temi. BSG have a great position, as you said, but they haven't actually converted a kill yet, and they are not very close to actually pushing onto site. Supreme spotted in the basement. He's very unsure of what the go is. Yeeball looking to try and kill him through 2 layers of floor, but BSG are a bit slow here, Mandy.
40 seconds left to go. It's not like it's impossible to convert it from here. And that pick from Hyam Jin onto one of the players on the bomb site, that's Baguette going down, is going to make things a little bit easier. It does look like they are posturing for a hatch drop into the corner of office, but will they make it work? And it seems like it's going to go down now.
Plan is starting to go down, but J1 doesn't have the info. Jin finds his second. The plant, it can't be allowed to go down. J1, you must look for this kill. But regardless, the diffuser is planted onto the ground. Jin's found one, J1, the trade. This 2v4 now, Islet must have an impact. Vamos looks to cover from the double door, but Jin, 3 kills already in the round. He will not be allowed a 4th as Vamos looks to close it, looks to get it done. He finds the double, and BSG call the GG. They march forward in this last chance qualifiers and on to the semi-finals.
And in very dominant fashion as well. A 7-2 on Bank, I think, is a true testament to their preparation going into this map. They did not want to repeat the same maps that they rematched